Alright, good morning everyone. Welcome back to the show. I'm your charming, self-proclaimed yet still humble host Mukluk, and today we are back in Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader. Our second playthrough of the game, but first one in quite a while, where we are going through it and enjoying it again with all the new DLCs that they've added. With that, we are currently back in the palace, where we have just found our palace because we were separated from it, and we got a lot of folks to talk to here, figure out what's going on. Do you have a bingo card for the expansion stuff today? No, I don't, but I am looking forward to it. Yeah, so on the Guild Wars 2 side of things, we got one more teaser that is expected today, and then tomorrow is the expansion announcement. Alright, let's talk to Achilles again. What are your responsibilities here on Dargonus? Officially, I'm a secretary at this world's administratum department. Less officially, well, I'm afraid I can't disclose that even to you. In short, I collect and investigate reports of heresy taking root on upstanding planets of humanity. Above all else, I'm concerned about the Xenos threat that hangs over the entire Coronis expanse, including your protectorate. Sadly, my mission was complicated by the recent warp disturbances. I'm still trying to re-establish contact with many of my agents. Do you know anything about the cult of the Final Dawn? My knowledge is deplorably limited, your lordship. All my attention has been focused on tracking Xenos activity. I'm certain that Master von Kalox can tell you much more about those heretics than I. Tell me about Xenos. The residents of the local systems are no strangers to skirmishes with the enemies of humanity, but recently the loathsome beasts seem to have completely flown off the handle. We're receiving reports from ships that made it through the warp to Dargonus. Both they and the colonies that they departed from are being attacked. We have identified the breed of Xenos that pose this threat, the Drukhari, humanity's ancient and insidious foes. Be vigilant on your travels. The Xenos will undoubtedly attack a rogue trader's ship should they find the circumstances to be in their favor. Let's shrink that little guy down so you can see more of his portrait. Alright, good day, Macaria. Hi, Lost Ely. Achilles. Unfortunately, the host of humanity, there are those who are willing to grovel before our enemies in the hopes of valuable reward. You may be interested to know that we are on the trail of such heretics. Achilles glances at a data slate. Overwhelming evidence indicates that a plundered void station in Landgrant's Belt is being used as a base by a band of pirates who are not above dealing with Xenos. I was unable to persuade the Chancellor of the need to dispatch a ship there, but perhaps you would like to play a courtesy call to these scoundrels yourself. About your unofficial work. Achilles' amber eyes flash with interest. Yes? Whom do you truly serve? The rogue trader or the interrogator of the Inquisition? Achilles quickly glances at Heinrichs. And whom does the rogue trader serve? The Golden Throne? The Protectorate? Could it be that one stems from the other? And if so, is there any sense in discussing it? That was tactful misdirection. Morning, Bug Chat. Hey, Bluebell. Let's see. Bahamut says, saw your video on the bow icon and your mention not knowing any other historic heroes that use bows. Kieran Thackeray was well known to use a bow. I was reminded about Aiden. I think it also could be Aiden. I don't know Kieran Thackeray. That also made me remember that Kieran also used Paragon Seals later, was a Paragon hero you could get after quests. Warrior Paragon with longbow isn't outside the realm of possibility either. Maybe. Tell me about the noble houses of Dargonus. Oh wait, we already went through this. Okay, no. Let's see. The scars on your face. What happened? He coughs. 5 years ago, there was an accident. Several tanks of promethium exploded in the storehouse at my estate, and I was buried alive under the rubble. The Emperor preserved my soul, and the skilled physicians of Dargonus saved my body, except for my lungs, for which I had to part. I presume the incident was an attempt on my life, but the identity of whoever was behind it remains a mystery. Okay. Heinrichs. The lack of observers on this world has led your nobles to become extremely complacent. Today alone, I overheard 3 statements that, if I so wanted, could be turned into grounds for a charge of heresy. Curiosity Merchant. A finely dressed man greets you with an incredibly radiant smile. His meticulously polished jaw augmentation reflects the palace's interior as sharply as a mirror. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Lucarius Carmelin, a collector of curiosities. Perhaps your lordship will find something useful among my offerings. That is a beautiful eagle. What is its name? His polished jaw shining, Lucarius extends his hand toward the bird, a hand likewise made of shiny metal. Her name is Aquila. As soon as I saw her, I knew a creature of such proud grace simply must be properly taken care of. Now Aquila is an integral part of my life, as I am of hers. With a shrill cry, the eagle stabs her benefactor's metal palm with her beak. The augmetic groans while the merchant is still smiling as he modestly puts his hand back into his clothes and out of sight. Apologies. Aquila is still getting used to my replacement extremity. She liked the old one better. Judging by Aquila's displeased look, the bird's fondness for her owner's original extremity was of an alimentary rather than affectionate nature. What kind of curiosities do you sell? Lucarius points at his eagle, still smiling. Equipment for noble cyber assistance, of course. The demand is modest, as few in the Imperium can afford such luxury, but I'm glad to have found my calling. Judging by his expensive attire and ostentatious augmetics, Lucarius' wealth is unlikely to stem directly from his curiosity business. He came here following his heart, it seems, and not his greed. I want to see what sort of curiosities you have. Okay. Oh, shoot. This is... Okay, so he buys stuff, too. Cybermassive gains 10 strength, does 100% more damage. If the Cybermassive adjacent to an enemy at the end of the Overseer's turn, the Overseer gains 1 resolve until the end of combat. If the Overseer is radical, he wants random characteristic size. Whenever an ability extrapolated through the Servo Skull Swarm affects other creatures, Servo Skull Swarm gains Psyche +5 int and Fellowship to the end of the Overseer's next turn. If Dogmatic Adherent extrapolates 5 abilities in total, does each shock damage. Okay. Alright, some other interesting stuff here, but we need more profit factor. Alright. Where's the dog? Alright, so let's see. 10 weapons, 100% more damage. Any. Let's equip that one. Alright, let's do that. Okay. Let's see. Spoiler-free answer, please. I recently started playing Expedition 33, and I haven't watched your gameplay about it yet, and I want to experience it myself first. How did you like it? And in your opinion, is it Game of the Year material? First of all, my review. I did a Is It Worth It for Expedition 33 review video that is free of spoilers. However, the TLDR is I loved it. It was fantastic. And yes, I do believe it has a very strong chance at Game of the Year. There's 3 games I've played this year that really stand out to me for Game of the Year. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, Expedition 33, and Split Fiction. And I think Expedition 33 has the strongest chance. While we're on Dargonis, I will check the Secretary's reports and keep an eye on the logisticians. Master... Oh, hold on, it's not scrolling. Master Danrock does his job well, but a little scrutiny goes a long way with him. You wouldn't believe the kinds of poisons... Oh yeah, we read that last time. Cassia. For your deeds, you ought to be recognized as a saint of the Imperium, your lordship. Pascal. My appearance has caused a slight disturbance in the ranks of the servants of the Omnissiah assigned to the palace. Analysis of the performance of rituals and maintenance litanies has produced a satisfactory result. Good old Dargonis, it's boring here without Lady Theodora. She loved to liven up this sleepy little place with a couple of crazy decrees, and public floggings of flabbergasted nobles. The Von Valancius dynasty throne, a visible symbol of the Rogue Trader's power, which now belongs to you. Alright, let's quick save, let's talk to Clementia. Your lordship, Clementia bows her head politely. For a chancellor to a road trader, she is dressed rather simply. A parade doublet, polished boots, and a comfortable cloak. She bears a saber and a gilded scabbard, whether for show or protection, one could not say. Only her ring with a Rosarian coat of arms indicates that she is of highest social stratum. The governor is waiting on the periphery of the palace. Please let me know when you would like to see him. Awareness test failed. Clementia is different from most nobles, not just in the way she's dressed, but in her bearing too. Although, judging by the scars visible on her skin, at least some part of her education took place on a battlefield rather than within the secure confines of the Lyceum. What are your responsibilities as Chancellor? To put it simply, I am your trade representative. Any and all decrees, deals, official communication, and meetings are first reviewed by me and then forwarded to you and from you down to the hierarchy. My purview also includes overseeing your lordship's property, the palace, the estates, and many gardens, and other domains on Dargonis that you have inherited from Lady Theodora. And whenever you are present on Dargonis, consider me your personal secretary. Achilles Scalander, does he cause any problems? Why, none at all, your lordship. Secretary Scalander is an outstanding individual and a loyal servant of the von Valancius dynasty. In Lady Theodora's absence, we collaborated on a number of issues related to the well-being of your domain, and he has proven himself quite capable. And I don't know why, but even the governor trembles before Achilles, which is unusual for a man of his, shall we say, standing. The last words bring a slight smile to her lips. Okay, so she either doesn't know that he also works for the Inquisition, or she's pretending to not know. What can you tell me about Dargonis? All deals and important decisions are made here in the capital. Many years ago, an ancestor of Lady Theodora signed an agreement with the Adeptus Administratum, which allowed for efficient management of the world and the neighboring systems. In accordance with the decree, a share of the planet's population was assigned to the Administratum and converted into servitor scribes. They now toil across the entire world. Oh my god. Yeah, you work for us, I'll give you some people to lobotomize. Dargonis is also a seat of several noble families who run all the major planets in the Protectorate. If I may express my not-so-humble opinion, they care very little about who exactly stands at the helm. Those piranhas think about their own profits just as much as they do about the prosperity of the Protectorate itself, if not more. And lastly, Dargonis has its own fleet, a luxury unavailable to the vast majority of other worlds in your realm. In addition to warships, the Protectorate also employs privateer ships which are used to transport cargo between worlds. Does the capital stay in contact with the other worlds in the Protectorate? Unfortunately, not at this time, your lordship. After the few representatives of the Adeptus Astra Telepathica on Dargonis went into a frenzy, some of the Psychers were tragically pacified by their respective authorities. Since then, communication with neighboring systems has been unreliable at best. Thanks be to the Master Mankind that you managed to find your way to the capital. If the noble houses are so volatile, what sense is there in keeping them? Over the many centuries, an intricate hierarchy has formed within the ruling elite of Dargonis. The great houses do more than plunder your treasury. It is replenished to a large degree thanks to their administrative work and their lands. Naturally, you can get rid of anyone whom you consider to be surplus to requirements, but right now it could threaten the fragile stability that is currently holding the Protectorate together. Tell me about Governor Drivestem. Urban Drivestem is a well-respected man, and not just on Dargonis, but throughout the Protectorate. For many centuries, his house has supported the capital's administration and the logistics between the von Valancius systems. The Drivestem's efforts secured years of order and prosperity for Dargonis. What's more, Lady Theodora personally insisted that Lord Urban specifically be made the next governor. Fellowship succeeded. The way you speak of Drivestem, I hear a hint of either contempt or resentment. No, I don't believe I feel either, your lordship. Clementia's steely eyes stare into the distance, her jaw clenching visibly. She speaks in a polite but clipped manner, clearly frustrated by your insight. We have different views on how to run a world. We sometimes have discussions over the laws that are enacted, but we both work for the good of the von Valancius Protectorate. That much can be said without a doubt. Are there any other issues I should be made aware of? Apart from the disrupted communications, Dargonis was recently raided by enemies of humanity. However, the fleet under the command of Captain Marthius Worsarian triumphed over the accursed Xenos. If you ask for my opinion on this matter, we have the situation completely under control. Awareness test succeeded. You catch her avoiding your gaze for just a moment for the first time. It's obvious that Clementia is looking out for her house's good name, but despite the confidence in her tone, you could tell that she does not entirely believe her own words. Thank you for the report, Chancellor. I serve the Valancius Protectorate, your lordship. Tell them I am ready to see the governor. Clementia bows before leaving. I shall arrange for him to be escorted to your study. 2 hours have passed. Hold on, I need a drink of water. Let's see. I haven't played Guild Wars 1. Can you explain the 3 classes and why it's so popular? Wait, what? Oh, that was toward Legendary. Gotcha. Alright, yeah, so someone else handled that question in chat. Mukluk von Valancius, 20th in his line, rogue trader, keeper of the Sacred Warrant, ruler of the Coronis Expanse from the Chronox system, to the 100 Dreams Crossroad, I bid you welcome. Urban Drive Stim, governor of this great world, first and foremost, please accept my deepest condolences. It will be difficult to recover from the loss of a woman as great as Theodora von Valancius. It pains me to think that she is no longer with you. The citizens of Dargonis and of the entire Protectorate grieve alongside you. Please allow us to declare half a year of mourning so that we can honor the memory of our beloved lady. 6 months? The governor glances at Cabela anxiously, then immediately averts his gaze. Then he looks at her again, but when Cabela lets out a grim chuckle and stretches her lips, daubed in fresh blood, you're wearing lipstick as blood as lipstick? Into a petrifying grin, the governor turns away from her sharply, all but squealing in fear. It's all the same to me. Do as you see fit. I will immediately give all necessary instructions, your lordship. He casually presses a few buttons on the cogitator built into his gold bracer. Esteemed Mukluk, Lady Theodora was a strong leader and we ought to follow her example. Let us lean on her wisdom and persevere in spite of this tragedy together. Let us carry on where she no longer can by leading the Von Valancius Protectorate to even greater prosperity. Alas, it won't be an easy task to accomplish. Some time ago, the astropaths of Dargonis flew into a rage and they had to be subdued. We are gradually restoring our ability to speak with neighboring worlds, but the contacts are still weak and the routes are tangled and no longer lead to the systems that the captains expect them to. Given that the vast majority of ships in Dargonis Navy travel without relying on the services of navigators, without your engagement, the well-being of the entire Von Valancius dynasty and billions of its subjects is presently at risk. Kunrad Voigtvier, former Master of Whispers, is a heretic and a traitor. Has he shown his face on Dargonis? The governor pensively strokes the rings glittering on his fingers. Lord Voigtvier visited the capital some time ago, but he did not request a personal meeting. A heretic, you say? Now I see where all the whispering in the corridors has come from. I shall be frank with you, your lordship. Lady Theodora's sudden death was a blow to every one of us, and the absence of any sort of verifiable and complete information about her successor gives grounds for all manners of rumors and misinterpretations, especially if someone is deliberately inciting unrest and discontent. Naturally, none would dare challenge you by accusing you of something as sacrilegious as murdering a rogue traitor. However, Kunrad Voigtvier was once a true boon to the Protectorate back in the day, and as such, some might heed his words. Oh my god. Alright, so once again, I said I was doing a dogmatic playthrough, and we're getting to a chance to look at dogmatic stuff, and oh my god. Basically he's saying lobotomize the people that talked back and turn them into robots. Alright. I sentence all who have dared to make heretical remarks about the rogue trader to servitude imperpetuis. Machines aren't prone to dissidence. I shall immediately make all the arrangements so that your order can be carried out properly. Drive stem bows. +4 dogmatic. What exactly do the Dargonis nobility expect from me in light of the loss of routes and communication from other worlds? We are troubled by the fate of the agri-world Janus that supplied Dargonis and other planets with foodstuffs. Empty stomachs can drive even the mildest rabble to revolt. Furthermore, House Gaprak is perturbed by the loss of communication with industrial world Kiava Gamma, which is in their charge. But if you wish to know my opinion, the world that deserves your attention the most is the penile world, Phobos 6, one of the key mining suppliers in your protectorate. Commerce succeeded. Such intriguing concern for Phobos 6 outposts. Doesn't your house happen to own the extractium stations there? Drivesim's beady eyes widen in fear. Your lordship, I beg of you, do not interpret my words as an attempt to influence your decisions in any way. You see, without Phobos 6, the manufactorums on your worlds will need to make haste to find new suppliers elsewhere and arrange for new shipments. And in these troubling times, they run the risk of delays and other most tragic mishaps. My only concern is for the prosperity of the Von Valancius dynasty. I have already secured the Agri-World Janus. Governor Viat found herself facing a number of problems in my absence. Truly, the Viat line is one of the oldest in the Von Valancius Protectorate. If the inheritor of such well-respected blood could not handle whatever had befallen her, the situation must have been extraordinary indeed. Vistenza succumbed to worshipping the ruinous powers and was executed. Drivestem pales in terror. It is clear from the unseemly grimace on his aristocratic countenance that his fear is not feigned. Ruinous powers! Truly horrifying news. I commend your resolve and unwavering severity. Death to the enemies of humanity. That does it for the planets and the trade routes. What else? Xenos, your lordship. I don't rightly know where to begin. He rubs the bridge of his nose wearily. Otherworldly beasts are not an uncommon sight in the Coronis expanse. There have been a menace to the worlds this side of the Maw for decades, but now those abominations are on the rampage. They show no signs of fear as they attack ships, either by damaging them to the point where they become unfit for transport duty, or outright gutting them. Only you have the power to stop this madness. We are in the process of restoring the astropathic choir of Dargonis. Luckily, we were forced to slay some of the deranged psychers. Wait, what? Oh, luckily we were forced to slay only some of the deranged psychers. Although those that remain are as yet unable to transmit... I have so much trouble reading this for some reason. Those that remain are as yet unable to transmit messages. I hope Master Scalander will keep his word and offer you his support in the war against the Xenos. According to his reports, the region of Vibos 6 has been of particular concern in the last few cycles, which is all the more reason to discover the colony's fate as soon as possible. Now, to issues on a smaller scale. There is a certain degree of tension in the capital due to the unorthodox secession of the Sacred Warrant. Chances of uprisings are minimal, of course, and the spreading of rumors is nothing but a sign of weakness of mind and spirit. Nevertheless, I have prepared a list of minor houses that have demonstrated unseemly discomposure at your succession. What is to be done about them? Command the spinners of the blood-spun web, and they will set a fine snare of retribution, Daman. We will whisper names, and that whisper will drown out insolent voices. Well, last time I played this, the Bloodspun Web wasn't part of the story. That was from one of the DLCs. So, let's try that. Cabela, I entrust the burden to the Bloodspun Web. Unravel the tangle of plots and foil them. It will be done, Daman. Let the sacrament of the hunt commence. A cold sweat breaks out on Drivestem's face. He forces a subservient smile on his face. This will bring the noble houses into line for years to come, your lordship. It will make them fear not only blasphemous words, but also their own shadows. And one last thing, your lordship. Your inauguration as bearer of the Sacred Warrant is but a matter of time, and I would like to inquire about one crucial detail. I imagine you are intending to uphold the centuries-old tradition, bolstered by an equally long-lasting friendship of being represented on Dargonis by one of the noble houses. I presume that, as before, this duty will be accorded to House Drivestem. One moment. What houses can represent me at the ceremony? Any of the noble houses located on Dargonis. The Drivestem family, which I lead. The Goprak family, with long ties to the Adeptus Mechanicus. The Sarbaks, known for their piety and diligence in service. Perhaps I should also mention the Rosarians, who have some influence, but who are not actually of noble origin. Any one of those houses would be honored to represent you at the ceremony. Now, obviously, there is some inkling to have the Rosarians do it, because you've been getting to know Abelard. But, you know, the other three, you just met all of the other three at the same time. This... let's see. I don't care, just don't fight too hard over the bone. The governor hurriedly lowers his head in an obliging bow, but you catch a glimpse of a grimace on his face. He's clearly displeased by your words. In that case, I think it's appropriate not to change the esteemed order of things. You will be represented by the governor of House Drivestem. Tell me about yourself and House Drivestem. It would be my pleasure to enlighten you. My house is the oldest and most respected on Dargonis. My ancestors walked side by side with yours for many generations as they cared for this world's welfare. Our duty is to supervise the governing bodies within the system subservient to you, and we are responsible for the Protectorate's logistics and economic stability. As for me personally, I am a humble servant of the Emperor and a loyal subject of the Rogue Trader, and to my great pleasure, I had the honor of calling myself Lady Theodora's close friend. At Urban's last words, Abelard lets out a sound that could be interpreted as either a snort or a cough. Urban gives him a look which Abelard meets with an expression of utter nonchalance. I would like to complete my inauguration as Rogue Trader as soon as possible. When is the ceremony? I'm afraid that until you deal with pressing issues, the ceremony will have to be postponed. Many trade routes are still unavailable, the central worlds of the Von Valancius Protectorate are going through a crisis, and warp disturbances, if Void observers are to be believed, will prevent important guests from reaching the capital. That will be all, I take it. Thank you for your time, your lordship. Since duty calls, I shall take my leave. May the Emperor's grace be with you. Okay. Restore the operation of the administrative operation. Dargonis. Wait, what is that? Hold on. Kiava Gamma. Asteroid Chapel. Or the investigation. Talk to Argenta on the ship. Sacred Exchange Paired. Choirmaster Weiss. I think I did that. Fellow dwells at the inhabitant base. Take Heinrich's Kiava Gamma. Eldari. Basara. Okay. So I think we're done here for now. Go with the Rosarians just to anger the rest. I'm pretty sure I did that on my last playthrough, because the way that you go through the game, assuming you're playing like a decent human being, which I'm currently not, you know, Abelard Rosarian is like your homie. And so you definitely are kind of inclined to favor him at the thing. And then the alternatives is 3 families you've never met before. Irliat? The walls of your home suffocate me, Elantok. I long to leave this twisted world at first opportunity. Jay. Such illustrious society, such well-heeled nobles. Indeed, it would be worth visiting Dargonis even without getting to know you better. Hold on a sec. This world offers a huge scope for doing business. Kibella. Make your people leave, Daman. Their idle questions are getting in the way of my watch. Argenta. Glory to the God Emperor. Wait, did I click on her correctly? Inspire us with strength and give us the courage to overcome troubles and suffering in your name. Alright, this little servo skull that follows me around, and it's just like, yeah, Monk is great. Ah, like it's constantly getting in the way. Mundus Valent. Wait, what? What is that? I don't know what that is. We're about to find out. Terrible news from Dargonis, Lord Captain. A subsidiary hive city, Scipion 84249, has been destroyed in a series of cascading failures. Production is halted and millions of people have broken their vows of obedience and are fleeing. Many of them are perishing in the wastelands and overloading transport lines leading to neighboring hives. The surrounding residential sectors are becoming increasingly agitated by the influx of refugees. What is your directive regarding the distribution of these people? What is the cause of this catastrophe? It is still unclear. The noble houses are casting blame on one another. Agents of the esteemed Achilles Scalander, stationed in Scipion 84249, died heroically while